Hey YouTube, Kiraqualia here, bringing you guys my Cardfight Vanguard deck collection video. This is an update to my previous Cardfight Vanguard deck collections, in which I show you guys all the decks that I have in my collection currently at the moment. I have quite a big number of Vanguard decks. I'm a very huge fan of the game. Always like to play different decks, different types of decks. And like I've said, they've added up over the years of playing, so I thought, as my other videos, just going to go through each one of the decks, give a little description as to how I got the deck and just why I kept it for so long. But let's go ahead and jump right in. So I think I'm going through just a bunch of boxes. We'll start off with the decks that I got recently. This is my Pale Moon Magia deck. Actually got this deck from my girlfriend in a trade, Tsundere on our other channel, or Marissa. She traded this deck. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly what she traded this deck to me for, but I think it was... Actually, yeah, I think it was a Royal Paladin SP pack, but held on to it for now. I don't think Pale Moon's getting any support lately, but it also came with the cool going second, going first divider, and it was pretty much complete as well, so a good thing to hold on to. You never know, Pale Moon might get some support later on down the road, and definitely make holding on to that deck worth it. Plus, don't really want to get rid of it. It's one of those, kind of sentimental things that you don't want to part with. But for the next one, I have Kagero. Some of them are just unorganized, haven't gotten around to it, but this one is Nouvelle. I was a big fan of this pack when it came out. Nouvelle was one of the only grade 4s that was legal in a deck to this date. I know Royal Paladin's got a couple of them now too, but it's really, really cool and had the trigger negation effect. And they were also pretty pricey, if I remember correctly, too, around the time when it came out, just for the fact that it had that trigger negation and guard restriction ability, which made the deck pretty heavy to play against. With Dauntless Drive being that restanding power, it was all pressure, and it's one of those fun limit break decks I just enjoy playing against other limit break decks. Against Stride, it's not as powerful, since most of the time you'll go into Strides for power instead of its own potential, but in old school games, it's definitely a fun one to go into. And we're kicking off on a Kagero theme, so I thought, why not? The next one is my Dragonic Overlord, the X with Dote and N built in. This deck is been one of my main ones that I use for a good while now, and I heard we're getting support in set 13, so I'm very excited to see just what more they could add onto this deck. We've already gotten the Legend, which obviously gets the power of a Stride, and all it has to do is attack a rear guard and restand. We even got the G-Guard that kills the entire back row, so all in all, really good power, but I just want to see how they will update it for the current Vanguard. We have a lot of support added in, but nothing too Overlord specific, grade 2 and 1-wise that's been new as of late. Nothing truly specific for the deck, but I think if we get some really good support, like an upgraded Neo Flame for kill effects with maybe even additional power, would definitely add to the deck's potential. And let's see, I think I got one more Kagero deck in this box. Yep, this is my pride and joy of Legion time, my great Perdition deck. This deck was fully Legioned out and is still to this day. One of my big goals at the time was to get it fully rared out. Still need to get a couple SPs, obviously, on that end. Other than that, it's a big one. I even put in the discard draw perfect guards for the power-up of Legion. Stayed pretty keen to the old school ways. Updated a bit with these cards also. But love the old play style. I even kept the 6 draws just for the Legion power of putting back. And I mix and match all my Stride zones with my other decks. So Kagero has some of the Strides in it, while some of the more important ones, like the G-Guards, are in my other decks, which we'll get to. And I think we'll stick to a Kagero theme. Let's go ahead and go to my Blaze deck, the Kagero deck I've been playing mostly as of late. I think it's another one that's not organized too well because I have been playing it, but one I'm also trying to go pretty hard rarity on. Got most of the Zygenbergs in SP. I also have 2 SP packs already invested into this deck, so hoping to get some more to add in. I have all the perfect guards, which if you think with the new Blaze in the anime is the main unit of the deck, so having that fully SP'd makes me kind of happy. Do want to get some of these other ones that aren't too pricey added into the deck, but it'll definitely be worth it since Kagero is my favorite clan overall. And I'm just grabbing randomly here, so I think the next one we'll go for will be this one. I'm grabbing the ones that I played mostly recently. This is my Dominate deck. I do want to give you guys a deck profile on this deck soon as well. I think I'm going to wait till set 12 for that, since we'll be getting more support anyway, and then if I do one now, I'll just make the deck out of date, and set 12 is right around the corner. Was very excited for Dominate. I still want to put After Image together. That's the deck I had in my last video for Nubatama, but it's kind of taken apart right now. I know we're getting some Stealth Dragon support in the new pack as well, so maybe I'll work on that deck as well. Got one of the signs, no SP packs in this one, but still overall really cool that I was able to easily get this finished up for the new pack that came out, along with a bunch of other decks. Went big on the case, and that really helped. And I think we'll stick with the set 11 trend for the beginning now that we already invested into it. Sherlero was my other deck that I did recently with the deck profile, along with Blade Master, and still organized from that deck profile. I haven't played this one. I've played Blaze and Nubatama and Zodiac Time Beast more lately, so this deck been organized. My one friend actually did pretty well in a regional lately using this deck, so I definitely want to play it more. It has awesome potential, and it's a very good deck. So, and I'm really glad that it got updated with all the new support. Some of the old support was kind of lackluster. Didn't really make it as meta, but now that it's fully finished, I definitely want to take it out for more test spins, especially in the mirror matches, just to see how it does full potential against itself. And wrap up the set 11 decks. I didn't update Chrono Jet completely yet. This is my Demiurge deck that I also did a deck profile on. Mixed up because I play this deck quite a lot as well against other decks. It's really fun. Demiurge is so much easier to get off now with all this support. It's quite crazy because you can also get power with the new grade 3. I've loved Demiurge ever since the Gear Chronicle pack came out with him in it. I've played it since that day also, and just enjoyed the whole guard restriction and power and stacking of your deck. It's just fun. You really don't get bored of the play. You'd think you would, but you know, just reaching 12 and hoping to hit the right cards for the different binds makes it all the more fun each and every game. And just your setup of what you'll have on top of the deck, because you can always vary from the drop zone as well. So those are all the set 11 decks. Let's go ahead and start grabbing some other ones, going through a little description. Reindeer, this one was built with the Prismatic Divas when it came out. I have not touched this deck to play yet, but it was quite easy to build with the new support from that pack. So put it together. It might be one of the decks that I get rid of down the road. It might not. I guess I have to play test it some more and just see how much I do actually like it. But I ended up finishing 7 Bermuda decks, so it would be quite impossible for me to go through and play each and every one of them and like them all the same. I know I'm a big fan of this one that I finished, Loris. I was always a fan of this deck. It has the full stride zone in it now, and most of my main strides for Bermuda in it. But we got double Loris power, which even one on rear guard, which helps. Have a couple SPs in it as well. It's fully built, fully powerful, and it's one that I always enjoy playing just for the combos that aren't really different too much, but they're still fun to get off when you have it with this deck. And let's see if I don't think we have any more Bermuda in that section, but I have to look over here, which find one. We'll stick with the Bermuda theme for now. We have duos. Now this one I was actually able to get the SP pack for during my case opening, and even pulled 2 of the Reet SPs as well. Was hoping to get 4 of her for a playset. I don't know if anything is shot up for the deck or not, but went double white and black with this version. I know some people like to go full white or black with this deck, but I preferred, you know, the half and half. If I can get more of the blacks, I might fully switch over to that one, just because that was the SP pack, and it already gave me a copy of each and every card that I needed additionally for that side, so it would make me only need 1 of every black. But this deck, definitely in my top 3 favorite Bermuda decks. I think my favorites would be Prisms, then Loris, and then duos, definitely up there for the fun. But since I just mentioned it, let's go ahead and go through the next Vanguard deck for Bermuda, Prisms. Now this one has been with me since the beginning that it came out in, I cannot remember the name that Divas first came out in, the extra booster. Dazzling Divas, that was it. it was really cool break ride. I think it was the first break ride we got. So playing it early, I remember going to a couple locals with it. Everyone's still playing off a limit break, and I was actually able to get off the break ride for limit break, which just made it all the more fun. Being the first one to do the mechanic, you always feel that sense of, power and enjoyment when you're playing the game. If you do it first, just like when, you get your first Legion before anyone else, or your first strides even, or, stride skills. It's just all the more fun to do it early on. And once again, I pretty much have all the decks boxes memorized of what's in it, so I can quickly grab one. Here we have Beast Deities. This deck I haven't actually played it in a while. I played it when the Winter Collection support came out and we got those cards, but didn't really touch it much after. Just wish it would get some more support. I know it got some stuff in BT06, but it wasn't too much that added to the actual playstyle. I know this was cool with Ethic Buster Reverse, giving it power, but other than that, it didn't really, add too much on the power side. And I know I have a skeleton for Blouse made, but I don't have pretty much everything put together for it, which is why Blouse aren't in this video. I do want to build Blouse. They do seem fun, but like I said, I just have to take the time to put it together. But another deck, another popular one during Legion was Riser. This is the Cat Butler Risers. Always enjoyed playing this. Once again, in the sense of when I would go up for Legion mirror matches. Have a couple strides in here, but honestly, my favorite Legion matches are when you go pure Legion, no stride, no G-guards, just, so you can remember the old full potential that Legion had at the time, since we didn't really have too much time to enjoy it as well either, which was kind of sad in my opinion. I think we had 2 sets and then we moved straight on to stride. I think this is another one of my decks that isn't organized because I play it a lot. Gurguit, I think they are actually getting support for Gold Paladins in set 13, so that'll be cool to see what they add to this deck. I don't know if we'll get another Gurguit, or maybe we'll get a new Stride Grade 3 in general from a new character. It's interesting to see. I'm definitely looking forward to what they do. I don't think Tayo would get a different card other than Gurguit to play, so definitely one that we'll have to see if they'll give us a new Gurguit backup, maybe, on rearguard. That definitely would make the deck a lot of fun to have a new Grade 3 that could be backup for the rearguard. And I think this one is, another one I'm actually just remember that I'm excited for from set 12. We'll be getting more Chronofang support. Now, this deck is pretty generic with the backup support. We have the Chronofangs, and see, we have Upstreams and a couple other rares that are generic backup, like I said, which all these grade 1s are generic. They need new support for the deck, which we're getting the Chronofang specific support, so can't wait to see what they do just with that stuff in the deck. We're getting a new Stride also, so that should definitely be fun. I can't wait because we already have the Chronofang Stride, but having a new one come out as well will definitely make it worth investing into. And we actually forgot a Bermuda deck, so we'll go back to those. Riviere. Now this deck I actually grabbed back from a friend to build before the Prismatic Diva set came out, so I don't think I had this deck during my last deck collection video. But I've actually played this deck a little more than Reindeer. I haven't touched Reindeer. This deck I've actually played once or twice. I did a mirror match against a friend, seeing who could play the better Reindeer build. I think he actually won. I don't remember off the top of my head, but that was the only time I played this deck. But it was just one of those decks, that you wanted to easily complete during Bermuda, and then possibly trade away to someone else who was interested in it. Still got quite a couple decks to go through, so we'll move right along. Now this one, when I was organizing a lot of these decks, a couple thoughts came into my head, and the one that came in with Great Nature was that it's definitely hard to move. It's definitely a very good deck, but not too many people seem interested in it as a whole. We're getting a new Zoo Pack coming out, so maybe I'm curious to see what new support they'll give us for this deck. If even it'll be for this deck, maybe they'll give us new support in total for a completely new deck. And if they do that, I'll be kind of disappointed because, this deck has reached its prime and there's not much more you can do to it. But like I said, people only seem to be interested in the Great Nature decks when, new support comes out and they realize how broken it is, and it kind of scares them away from that deck in general. Now this deck I played a lot of when set 9 came out, Raging Rap Dragon. I actually wanted to add the Phantom Blaster Abyss support mixed in with the Raging support, just because the Stride required Abyss Dragons, which Phantom Blaster Abyss obviously is an Abyss Dragon as well as Raging Form, just a little better backup than this to go back and forth. And I'd also obviously put the Blaster Dark Abysses in the deck as well instead of a couple of these cards, just to have the two different combo plays. It probably would have kept the deck more interesting. I have the Phantom Blaster support, I just need to add it in, obviously, which hopefully one day I'll get the Spark to do it. When I want to add new support to a deck, I obviously have to put the basic need to want to play the deck in it before I'll put this stuff in, which is why I still haven't put Blouse together. I want to play it, but I still need the motivation to put the deck together and give it a shot. I don't just want to put it together and not touch it, because then decks like Reindeer will end up happening. Now this deck, Darkface, this one I am excited to play with the new Zoo support. We'll be getting some new Strides and I think also a new Darkface backup grade 3, so we won't have to ride the Break Ride anymore. We might get something even better than the original Darkface we have. Still need one of this Stride and maybe one more Obaturandis, but all in all this deck's pretty finished. I got this deck Whiterun Set 4 came out, I built it. Most of the support was needed at the time from the pack, so you didn't need really any of the old support, and I don't even think there's really any old support in here besides Cyclomatooth, which, you know, he might be replaced soon anyway, depending on what you want to use for the deck. And this one, the deck box is misleading, but in here we have Hamsuke. This is a real budget deck that I threw together when Technical Booster 2 came out. Like I said, it was not expensive. I think these actually shot up in price, but I already had them, so it wasn't like I had to go looking hard for putting this deck together. But I played it a couple times, and you can actually go pretty good grade 2 rush with this build, not having to rely solely much on the grade 3. You can get some pretty killer plays out, especially if you just want to torment your opponent because you know you won't be able to stand up against the Stride with it. And with the next deck, we have my Gear Chronicle deck. Now this one I want to transform into pure Zodiacs instead of just the Chrono and whatnot and the Time Leap. I want to give pure Zodiac Time Beast to try. I just don't want to move cards back and forth between this deck and my Demiurge deck because I have the Arcas Perfect cards in that deck and a couple other cards that I'd have to move back and forth, and then it would just destroy 2 decks in total, which I do enjoy the Time Leap version of this deck. So it's got some of the new cards from set 11 in it, like Mystery Freeze, which does work well since it's not a Time Beast specific effect. Same with the GB8. It all runs really well together as a whole. But if I'm going to want to play the new cards from set 12, like Gear Next, which requires Zodiac Time Beast, then I'll obviously have to, you know, clench my teeth and do such a thing. Or at least get Arcas, which I hope the reprint from set 12 will be a little easier to get at least. And this is a deck I actually forgot I had, Grand Gallop, while I was going through and organizing. Still need one more of the new grade 3, which is really good. But I actually got this deck in a trade. I think I did a deck for deck, and I ended up getting this deck. It was pretty cool. I'm actually, you know, people are still big fans of the D-Police deck, so holding on to it might be that little treasure that I can use if there's a deck down the road I want. I don't play D-Police too often. If I did, I really wish I had a D-Robo deck. That deck always seems like a lot of fun, especially since they have a bunch of Strides. The new Dymax seems incredibly powerful. But all in all, Grand Gallop has that +4 power, which can reach big numbers on its own, which does seem fun altogether, but like I said, that's the only thing, and I know a lot of people do see the Spark in that being fun, especially with the quadruple drive effect, but I just don't see the full appeal, and it's just, like I said, just one of those treasure decks. All in all, I do think the deck looks really cool, but like I said, not every deck is for everyone. We got one more Bermuda that I forgot to sneak in, the Shushu deck. This one came out with the trial deck, so it was pretty easy to put together. Haven't played it as much as other people in my group that I hang out with, but they seem to enjoy it for the time. I don't think a lot of them are still playing it. I know my girlfriend Marissa plays this deck still a lot, just for the hand power consistency and offense that it brings together. I was a big fan of the SPs, as you can see, when they came out. I have a couple of them laying around, but only put the ones that I liked in the deck, which I think she's actually the only SP in this deck at the moment. And next we have the one who views at the planets, Globe Magus. This is the Magus deck. This deck played a lot, and I'm hoping I can add some of the new support from OTT for set 12 in this deck to help. And another exciting thing I'm excited about that I just remembered after looking through this deck is we will be getting new Tsukiyomi support as well, so I will definitely have to put that deck together as well. Sad it's not in this video to show you guys, but I do have all the stuff for Tsukiyomi ready to go, especially with that new grade 3 and 2. It's going to make the deck one hell of a match feature that I'll definitely want to play, and deck profile for you all. Another deck that will be getting support in set 12 that I'm excited for is Susanoo. I'm actually going to change this a bit. Tom might actually come out of this deck. He's not as powerful anymore since there are easier ways to guard, especially with your grade 0s in the form of G-Guard, but most of the other stuff for the Oracle will stay in the deck just because that draw power and pressure now with new abilities, especially the Stride that we're getting that can block a G-Guard, makes this deck all the more offensive. And I am just slowly putting them away as well so I don't get too confused with the decks either. But we have 7 more decks to go through, so we're making some pretty good time. Spike Brothers, I think they're actually getting support in set 13 as well, so I have a lot of decks that I am like ready for new support with. It makes me not want to get rid of them, because if the support's really good, obviously the deck will rise in price, but I'll want to build that deck. That's the whole thing of a hobby. You don't want to sell cards to make money. You want to build the deck so you can have fun with them. And that's why I don't really feel too bad when the cards like double or triple in the original price I had them for, and why I hold on to the deck. It's just because I enjoy it more when I build the cards, not when I sell them for the high price. If I can build the deck and just keep updating it, that's what a true hobby is. Sure, if you make some money along the side with like cards in your trade binder and whatnot, but the cards you build for decks and keep and you see as your treasures, that's the real fun in this game as a whole, in my opinion. Another Bermuda deck that I forgot, Pacifica. Now, this deck I actually played a lot of because I thought it was really fun, with the new Gen Rare especially for those back row rear guard attacks. Something we haven't seen in Bermuda before, and not something you'd really expect from the deck as a whole, or the clan more specifically, to attack from the back row with +5 power. It's a really fun combo if you can get off. It makes the whole deck worth it, just with the different Pacificas as well. And next, we have another OTT deck. I'm going to have 4 Oracle Think Tank decks, which I don't mind having doubles of the clan if you really enjoy it. And Battle Sisters are getting support too. Just so much support in set 12. Definitely excited for it. Another deck I didn't organize, or I might have organized, just mixed up a couple cards. Looks pretty organized to me. But I think they're getting a new Perfect Guard, Stride Assist grade 1, new grade 3, so a lot of changes will be to this deck, and I'll be definitely sure to give you guys a deck profile when that support comes out for this deck as well. And we are winding down. Let's get to the last couple that are left in the pile. We have Vanquisher. Now, I will say it again. We're getting new support, set 12. This is, it. I've actually been pretty lucky with all the decks I've saved up that are getting support. New Vanquisher grade 3. I picked this deck up when set 2 came out. It was pretty easy to build at the time. I actually grabbed a lot of the support from the packs I bought and put it together quite easily. I don't know if we got all the support. Yeah, I think this card came out in BT05, so we didn't get all the support. We got basically Vanquisher, and we had to go generic Narukami, but adding on to it, we really did achieve some good power. I know with the new stuff, I think Conquest Dragon's going to come out for the new Vanquisher cards, but all in all, I can't wait to see what the deck can do when it's finished with pure Thunderstrike power. And this deck, set 13, I actually bought this deck from a friend a couple weeks ago for $40, which at the time these were pretty cheap, but they've jumped up in price because of the awesome Maelstrom support we're getting. It's going to make me debate what I want to run for grade 3 lineup, but I have all this stuff here at my disposal ready to go for when that time does come in which I'll want to build that deck in the proper manner. And 2 decks left. Another Aquaforce deck. I figured I might as well get to it. I do want to build Thavis, but sadly I only have Blue Wave and Maelstrom at the moment, but I can hopefully put Thavis together. I have a couple things for it, including the Holo Crits and a couple Thavis, but I'll get to actually putting the deck together as I get closer to set 13. And I think we are getting some Blue Wave support too, so hopefully we'll get like a more powerful version of Tetra Boil when it comes out as well. And the last deck has been a long video, and if you've watched through the whole thing, I really commend you for sticking to it and listening just to my tale of the history of my deck collection, and that is Gaia. I don't know, I think we might be getting Gaia support in set 13 as well, but just another thing that makes me happy to be playing this deck for new support to look forward to. This deck has been one of my favorites to play from set 10 when it came out, along with Gurgawit. The Gluttony Dogma play, I was so happy when I got my playset. It was one of the hardest cards to find at the time too, but having it definitely worth, in my opinion, makes the deck all the more powerful. And whatever support we do get for the deck, I know it can only help, because the deck is very, very powerful alone with the support we have out for it already. And anything new will just be a complete bonus. But that is it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, especially a very long video, but I think all my deck collection videos are long to start off with. But once again, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And once again, always love to hear what decks you guys have, what are in your collections, why you collect them, all down below in the comments. And once again, until the next time, don't forget to like and subscribe, and Kiraqualia out.